And from the top of the 3 charts, ladies and gents, George Benson.
I can remember back my first encounter with the guitar. My stepfather, at my ripe old age of 7 years old, introduced me to the guitar, the electric guitar. I remember hearing it, waking from a sleep, and hearing this sound that I had never heard before. It was the most angelic and heavenly sound. And I looked over, and he was sitting in a half-dark corner, and I saw the form of the guitar in his hand, and he was playing some very mellow type things, more like colors instead of songs.
When I was a teenager, I was 17 years old, and one of the guys in my band, he played saxophone, and it was an R&B band. We worked a lot of local bars in Pittsburgh, nightclubs, tiny places. But he played music that I was unfamiliar with. He was playing bebop, and we were playing R&B. And one day I asked him, I said, "Man, what kind of music is that you're playing?" He said, "Well, I listen to Charlie Parker." And I said, "Who?" And he put on a record called Just Friends. I never heard anything like that in my life. Nothing ever came close even. I found out years later that the drummer was Buddy Rich. He was 19 years old. The bass player was Ray Brown, who was the best of the best. And of course, Charlie Parker, who was the best of the best saxophonists. I learned the improvisation. I could sing every note along with Charlie Parker. I could hum every note he played. I couldn't play it on the guitar, but I could hum it. After that, everything was easy for me. There's no improvisation that I've ever done since then that even comes close. But what it taught me was a sense of harmony, feel, rhythm. It had everything. And so nothing was hard after that. That was the recording that changed my whole life. It took years before my producers would allow me to do it because they didn't think I had something valid to give. But Tommy LaPuma in 1975, late 75 into 76, he allowed me. I said, "Hey man, bring the microphone here. I want to try something with the guitar and the mic." So he said, "Okay." No other producer ever said, "Okay, let's try it." One take on this masquerade is all we had. Just one take. And we came up with that improvisation that became world famous. So it goes to show you, man, if you got a new idea, try it at least once. On that particular album, I had a guitar I had never played before. I slowed down. And something came to light that had been told about me years earlier. In an interview they had with Wes Montgomery, they did a blindfold test. They played a record that they didn't think he knew. And they said, "Who is this artist?" He said, "Oh, I know who that is. That's that new kid. His name is George Benson." He said, "And I like that sound with the baritone and guitar." He said, "Boy, when that kid slows down, he's going to be the best." And on the album Breezin', I slowed down simply because I didn't have confidence in that I could play very fast on that new guitar, which I had never played. So I relaxed into the feeling. Sound good and feel good are the two greatest elements to me in music. In that record, Wes Montgomery's assessment of me came true. He said, "When he slows down, he's going to be a killer." So that album sold in the millions, just like Montgomery knew it would. It was quite exciting. It was a great time in my life. Things were moving positively. We were selling records in the millions, and TV was going to be a breakout for me, and this show certainly was.
It's Bert Sugarman's Midnight Special with your host, George Benson.
Good evening. It's great to be back on the Midnight Special. We've got a beautiful show tonight.
Yeah, it was highly rated. I heard afterwards I had no real, idea that we commanded that kind of attention. And but after I saw the roster, the people they invited who said, "Yes, I'll be on the show with George Benson."
Carlos Santana.
For me, it was a first because I had never met him before, but I admired his accomplishments. I heard some of his great music, and I thought he was quite a unique artist. So when they said he was going to be on the show, I knew the show must have had a very special meaning to the audience. Someone had figured it out. Prior to the show, I didn't realize how much time we would spend together rehearsing, because they really didn't. TV is, compressed. Everything costs money. Time is money. And so I knew we weren't going to have a lot of rehearsal time. So I picked things which would come natural to us, Reason was a natural because it was so simple. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 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 do. And I knew Carlos wouldn't have time with that. As a matter of fact, he actually added some wonderful things to that and created his own melody. And his improvisation was impeccable. We were all very, very comfortable in it. And some nice surprises, because I hadn't heard Carlos play live. And what he played on the show was quite outstanding. He inspired me. I was relaxing because I didn't want to turn it into a contest. I just wanted it to be a good show. Guitar players, have a tendency to check each other out, And Carlos started playing these slick licks, that only he can play, because he's got an incredible concept that works very well. Then I said, let me try some of these licks out and see how they work toward me. I said, Carlos, have you heard this? He said, yeah, but have you heard this? Not literally, but with our instruments, we were saying that. And I thought it was a very interesting part of the show, and it was very brief, but it said what we wanted to say. There's more to this. Check us out a little later on. My father saw that show, and he said I was getting beat up until the last part of the show. When I finally opened up and started, articulating and started playing some double time tempos, they said, man, yeah, he said, son, I'm very proud of you. He said, yeah, you held it up that night. You held your own. And I didn't know he had seen it, but he was with a lot of his friends that night. So I guess he was sweating it until we, started playing toward the end, up to my potential. Van Morris was surprised for me. I had heard his name and heard a couple of his great records, but I never imagined that we would be doing anything together.
With a great song by a fantastic artist, Van Morrison.
He seemed to be on a whole different page than I was on. But I could tell he was an artist. He was definitely that. He had a good sense of harmony. His writing was very tasty, and a lot of people loved playing his song. When I started performing with Van Morrison, I didn't know what he was going to do. I wasn't just pleased, I was knocked out. Not at me, at what he was doing and how he was doing it. He was actually, here I am thinking I'm supporting him. He was making every concession for me, and somehow or another, we came together in a very musical way. So it was a very good performance on both parts. Trying to find out what a hit record is made out of has been the quest of every producer, recording artist, as long as there's been a recording industry. No one can guarantee a hit. If you could bring Elvis, Michael Jackson, Judy Garland, if you could bring them back from the grave, that wouldn't guarantee a hit record. It's interesting, but can't guarantee a hit. Nothing can. It's only a gut feeling you have inside, and you hope that you connect. But the elements that I look for that I think are most important is sound and feeling. It must sound good. It must have a good feeling. Now, if you happen to have a great story that goes with that connects to people, you got a great chance of having a record that people will fall in love with and run to the stores to buy or make sure they get their hands on. But there is no guarantee.